All right, so get this. You sent us Communication Magic by L. Michael Hall.
Oh, wow.
And let me tell you the title, it totally delivers.
Okay.
We are about to take a deep dive with you into this world where language, it's more than just words, it's like straight up sorcery.
It really is fascinating how this book uses neuro-linguistic programming,
Okay.
NLP for short, to unpack how our words shape our reality. It's not about mystical incantations,
Right.
but the real-world impact of what we say and how we say it.
Okay. I'm all about practical magic.
Okay.
So how do words work like spells in everyday life?
Think about it this way. Every time you speak,
Yeah.
you're performing an action with language.
Okay.
Philosopher J.L. Austin called this the performative function of words.
Yeah.
Saying something, IS, doing something.
Interesting.
We use language to influence, to connect, to create humor, to build entire worlds in our minds.
Whoa. So it's not just about chatting.
Right.
It's about actively shaping our reality with every sentence. That's a bit of a mind bender.
It is?
What are some of the ways we use language to do things without even realizing it?
The book gives so many examples.
Okay.
Think about how you gather information, persuade a friend, or even just make someone laugh.
Yeah.
It all comes back to the specific words and structures we use. Even something as simple as asking a question can completely change the direction of a conversation.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I sometimes feel like I'm fumbling around in the dark with my words. Like, how do I get better at wielding this magic instead of accidentally setting things on fire?
Well, that's where the concept of mental maps comes in,
Okay.
which the book pulls from Alfred Korzybski. His famous quote, "The map is not the territory," is super relevant here.
Ooh, I've heard that one before, but honestly, it's always felt a bit abstract.
Yeah.
Can you give us a real-world example to help it click?
Imagine you're looking at a menu in a restaurant.
Okay.
The menu describes the food. It even makes it sound delicious.
Right.
But it's not the actual meal, right? You could have the most amazing description of a steak,
Yeah.
but it won't satisfy your hunger.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Okay.
Our words are like the menu. They represent our internal map of reality,
Yes.
but they're not reality itself.
Exactly.
And just like a bad map can lead you astray,
Right.
inaccurate or incomplete mental maps can create problems in how we communicate and interact with the world.
Exactly.
So how do our bad maps actually play out in our conversations? So the book mentions a guy named Jerry who struggles with authority figures.
Oh, yeah.
What's his story?
Jerry constantly uses phrases like kissing up
Okay.
and brown-nosing when talking about colleagues who get promoted. He even said his bosses just want him to not have a brain.
Wow.
This language reveals a deeply ingrained belief that authority is inherently oppressive
Yeah.
and that compliance means sacrificing your integrity.
Ouch. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It does.
I bet his communication style isn't winning him any favors with his bosses.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, really.
Right.
His words create conflict and reinforce his negative beliefs, preventing him from building positive relationships with those in authority.
Yeah.
It shows how our internal map, our belief system, can actually shape our experiences.
Wow.
We're not just describing reality, we're creating it with our words.
Okay. This is getting deep.
Yeah.
If our words have that much power, how do we start to become more aware of those mental maps?
Yeah.
Both our own and others.
That's a great question.
Is that where NLP comes in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
NLP helps us understand the structure of our subjective experience. Think of it as learning to see the matrix.
Okay.
You start to recognize the patterns in language and how they influence our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Okay. I'm ready to take the red pill and see how deep this rabbit hole goes.
All right.
But before we do, can you give us a little more background on NLP itself? Like, where did it come from and what are its main principles?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
NLP emerged in the 1970s
Okay.
and was developed by John Grinder and Richard Bandler. They were fascinated by how some people achieve exceptional results in communication
Yeah.
and wanted to understand their magic.
Uh-huh.
They started by modeling highly effective therapists like Virginia Satir and Milton Erickson,
Right.
who were known for creating profound change in their clients.
So they were like the master communicators, the Jedi masters of language.
Exactly.
Nice.
And by studying their language patterns, Grinder and Bandler started to unlock the secrets of their success.
Ah, okay.
This is where NLP gets really interesting. It's not just about techniques. It's about understanding the structure of human experience.
Okay.
Remember, it stands for neuro-linguistic programming.
Right.
It's about how our neurology, our thought processes are intertwined with language.
Okay, I'm following you. So NLP provides this framework for understanding how our minds work,
Yes.
how we create meaning, and how we can change our experience by changing our thinking and our language.
Precisely.
And this framework has applications far beyond therapy.
It does.
It's used in business education, personal development,
Yeah,
anywhere where communication is key.
it really is.
It's incredible to think about the potential hidden within something as commonplace as language.
It is.
But hold on a second. If language is this powerful, why aren't we all master communicators by now?
That's a great point.
Right.
And it's something the book acknowledges.
Yeah.
Becoming a word magician takes practice awareness and a willingness to challenge our own habitual patterns of thinking and speaking.
All right. So it's not an instant magic spell.
Right.
What are some of the first steps we can take to start wielding this power more effectively?
Okay.
I'm ready to learn some language spells.
Right.
What kind of magic does NLP offer?
Well, one of the foundational tools NLP offers is the meta model. Remember those bad maps we talked about?
Yes.
The meta model is like a compass that helps us navigate them more effectively.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me.
Yep.
How does the meta model actually work in a conversation?
The meta model works by identifying and challenging 3 common language patterns
Right.
that can distort our thinking.
Yeah.
Deletions, generalizations, and distortions.
Oh.
It helps us unpack vague language and get to the specifics of what's being communicated.
Deletions, generalizations, and distortions.
Yeah.
Those sound familiar from earlier.
They do.
But can you remind me what those actually look like in a conversation?
Sure. Let's start with deletions.
Okay.
Imagine someone says, "I'm uncomfortable."
Yeah.
That statement is missing crucial information.
Right.
Uncomfortable in what way?
Uh-huh.
Uncomfortable about what the meta model
Okay.
helps to fill in the blanks
Right.
by asking clarifying questions.
So instead of just nodding along
Right.
or offering generic advice, we dig a little deeper to understand the real issue. Got it. What about generalizations?
Generalizations use words like always,
Yeah.
never, or everyone to make sweeping statements that are rarely accurate.
Right.
For example, someone might say, "You never listened to me."
Oh, yeah.
The meta model would challenge this by asking for specific examples.
Yeah.
Can you give me a specific instance when I didn't listen?
So it's about bringing those vague complaints down to earth.
Exactly.
Forcing the speaker to actually look at the evidence. I like it.
Yeah.
What about those distortions? Those sound like fun.
Distortions are where things get really interesting.
Okay.
They involve twisting reality to fit our beliefs. A classic example is, "He makes me angry."
Yeah.
This implies that someone else has direct control over our emotions, which simply isn't true.
Wait, are you saying we're responsible for our own emotions?
Yeah.
But what about when someone is being a total jerk?
Yeah.
Surely they're responsible for how I feel then.
It's tempting to think that way,
Right.
but the truth is we always have a choice in how we respond. The meta model would challenge that distortion by asking,
Yeah.
how specifically does his behavior lead you to feel angry? What's the connection?
Wow, that's powerful.
It is.
So instead of blaming others for how we feel, the meta model helps us take ownership of our emotional responses. That's a game changer.
Exactly.
This is making me realize how often I use these language patterns without even realizing it.
Yeah.
It's like a whole new world is opening up.
Yeah.
So how do we actually start using the meta model in our own lives?
The key is to develop what NLP calls meta-awareness,
Okay.
the ability to observe our own thinking processes and language patterns.
Okay.
It's like taking a step back from the movie of our mind and becoming aware of the projector that's creating the images.
So it's about noticing when we're making deletions, generalizations, or distortions, and then challenging those patterns with clarifying questions.
Yeah.
Like if my partner says, "You're always late,"
Yeah.
instead of getting defensive, I might ask, "Late for what specifically, and how often does it actually happen?"
You got it.
Okay.
By asking those questions, you're not only getting clarity for yourself, but you're also helping your partner to be more specific and accurate in their communication.
Right.
It can prevent a lot of unnecessary arguments.
Okay. This is starting to feel less like magic and more like a superpower. I could actually learn.
It is.
The book also mentions something called reframing as a key NLP technique.
Oh, yeah.
What's that all about?
Reframing is another powerful tool for transforming our experience.
Okay.
It's based on the idea that any given situation can be interpreted in multiple ways. By consciously choosing a different frame of reference,
Right.
we can change the meaning we assign to an event and therefore our emotional response to it.
So instead of just reacting automatically, we can choose to see things from a different perspective. Isn't that like positive thinking 101?
It's similar, but reframing goes deeper.
Okay.
It's about actively seeking out alternative interpretations, challenging limiting beliefs, and consciously choosing perspectives that empower us.
Right.
It's like looking at a painting from different angles.
Okay.
You'll notice new details and see the artwork in a whole new light.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
But can you give me a real-life example of how reframing might work?
Imagine you didn't get that promotion you were hoping for.
Okay.
You could easily spiral into negativity, thinking I'm a failure or I'll never get ahead.
Right.
But what if you reframe the situation as an opportunity for growth? You could ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? What skills can I develop to be even more qualified next time?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a different path I should be pursuing.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Instead of focusing on the closed door, you're looking for the open windows.
exactly.
So how do we know which frame to choose?
Right.
Are there certain frames that are always better than others?
It's not about right or wrong frames,
Okay.
but rather about choosing frames that are helpful and empowering. NLP provides various techniques for reframing,
Okay.
like context reframing and meaning reframing.
Right.
It's a bit like having a set of different lenses that you can use to see the world in new ways.
Okay. I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
We can choose to focus on the problem,
Yeah.
or we can look for the opportunity.
Right.
I'm definitely going to try this reframing thing.
Go ahead.
It feels like a much more enjoyable way to live.
It really is.
And it highlights the power we have to shape our own experience.
It does.
Remember those logical levels we touched on earlier?
Yeah, the Russian nesting dolls.
Yeah.
They come into play here, too.
Ooh, yeah. The Russian nesting dolls.
Yeah.
I'm still a bit fuzzy on how they connect to all of this.
Well, they help us understand the different levels at which change can occur.
Okay.
If you're feeling stuck, it can be helpful to identify which level is causing the issue.
Right.
Is it a behavior you want to change, a limiting belief,
Mm-hmm.
or perhaps even a conflict with your core values?
So if someone's constantly procrastinating, it might not be as simple as just telling them to get organized.
Right.
There might be a deeper belief like, I'm not good enough,
Yeah,
that's driving that behavior.
exactly.
And trying to change the behavior without addressing the underlying belief is likely to be ineffective.
Yes.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's like trying to treat a symptom without addressing the root cause.
Exactly.
So how do we use the meta model and logical levels together?
Let's say someone says, I'm a failure.
Okay.
This statement is a sweeping generalization at the identity level.
Right.
Using the meta model, you could ask failure at what specifically?
Yeah.
This question brings the conversation down to the behavioral level,
Okay.
where you can explore specific examples and counterexamples.
By breaking it down like that, you can help them challenge that harsh self-judgment and see things in a more realistic and empowering way.
Right.
So we're not just questioning their words, we're actually guiding them to a different level of awareness.
That's the magic of NLP. It's about using language as a tool for transformation, for helping ourselves and others create more positive and fulfilling experiences.
Okay, my brain is buzzing with all these NLP techniques,
It's a lot to take in.
but there's one thing I'm still wrestling with.
Okay.
You keep saying that language shapes our reality,
Uh-huh.
and I get the idea of mental maps,
Right.
but it still feels kind of mystical, like we're waving magic wands with our words.
It's definitely a mind-bending concept.
It is,
We're so used to thinking of language as a way to describe the world.
right?
But what if it's actually a tool for creating the world?
Okay, now you're really messing with my reality. How does language actually have that much power?
Think back to how we learn as children.
Okay,
We don't come into the world with pre-programmed knowledge.
right.
We learn about everything through language, through the stories. People tell us, the labels they give us, the way they interact with us.
Okay.
Our entire understanding of reality is constructed through language.
So it's not just that we use words to label things that already exist,
Right.
but those words actually shape the way we perceive those things.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this isn't just a philosophical idea.
Huh.
The field of neurosemantics is starting to uncover the science behind this.
Right.
It explores how the meanings we associate with words, the semantic maps we create in our minds,
Right.
actually impact our brain chemistry and physiology.
Whoa. So our thoughts and beliefs, as expressed through language, can actually change our physical state.
It can.
That's both amazing and a little terrifying.
It is pretty mind-blowing, isn't it?
It is.
It explains why things like affirmations, visualizations, and even our internal self-talk can be so powerful. By consciously choosing our language, we can literally rewire our brains and create new neural pathways.
This is all starting to make me feel like I need to be a lot more careful with my words.
Right.
If language has this much power, what kind of responsibility do we have as communicators?
That's an excellent question, and one that communication magic really emphasizes.
Okay.
Just like a magician can use their skills for good or for ill.
Right.
We can use our words to build others up or to tear them down.
So it's not just about what we say, but also our intention behind the words?
Precisely.
Okay.
It's about recognizing the power we hold as communicators and using that power responsibly and ethically.
I'm definitely feeling a newfound sense of awareness around my own communication patterns.
That's great to hear.
Are there any practical tips from the book that we can share with our listeners to help them become more conscious and skillful with their language?
Absolutely. One of the simplest yet most powerful practices is cultivating sensory acuity.
Sensory acuity?
Yeah.
What's that all about?
It's about paying close attention to the details of our experience through our senses.
Okay.
What we see, hear, feel, smell, and even taste. It's about being fully present in the moment rather than getting lost in our thoughts and interpretations.
So instead of just rushing through my day on autopilot, I should slow down and really savor my morning coffee. Notice the colors of the leaves changing.
Yeah.
Actually listen to what people are saying instead of just waiting for my turn to talk.
You're getting it.
Okay.
When we practice sensory acuity, we become more grounded, more observant, and more responsive to the nuances of communication.
It sounds like a great way to reduce stress and be more mindful, too.
It is.
What are some other tips for leveling up our communication game?
The book also emphasizes the importance of meta-awareness, which we touched on earlier.
Yes.
It's about becoming aware of our own thinking processes, our mental maps, and how they're shaping our experience.
So instead of just reacting automatically to things, we take a pause and ask ourselves, what's going on in my head right now? What assumptions am I making? What's my internal dialogue saying?
Exactly. It's about observing our thoughts and feelings with curiosity and without judgment, which allows us to choose our responses more consciously and skillfully.
This all ties back to the idea of taking responsibility for our communication.
It does.
Recognizing that our words have a real impact on ourselves and others.
They do.
And as we've been saying, with great power comes great responsibility.
It does.
But it's not about being perfect or striving to always say the right thing.
Right.
It's about embracing the journey of learning and growing as communicators.
Exactly.
It sounds like it's less about mastering a set of techniques and more about cultivating a certain mindset, a way of being in the world.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about approaching communication with curiosity, playfulness, and a genuine desire to connect with others authentically and meaningfully.
Well, after this deep dive, I'm definitely feeling inspired to step up my communication game.
I'm glad to hear that.
Any final words of wisdom for our listener before we sign off?
I'd encourage you to explore the ideas in communication magic further.
Okay.
And to experiment with the NLP techniques we've discussed. Remember, language is a powerful tool for shaping your reality. And with practice and awareness, you can become a master of your own communication magic.
What an inspiring way to end this deep dive. Thanks for being our guide through this fascinating world of language and communication.
It's been my pleasure, and to you, our listener, may your words be filled with power, purpose, and a little bit of magic.